Okay, so BlaXit family, BlaXit family, BlaXit family. This is the grand reunion. That's right. Look who's here. Now, if you haven't actually watched the channel before, you might think, why is Juliet so excited? Why is she so happy to speak to this person? Well, this is one of the old school, one of the originals, yeah, of the BlaXit team. I'm speaking to McConnell Sankofa, who is an author and a journalist, and also was one of the top salesmen in England. And he came here to the Gambia, and we ended up working with each other. We ended up interviewing each other, and then we ended up working together. And McConnell did some of the best interviews that I must confess, I'm really sorry, my brother Seth, that we've had on the channel. So if you haven't been on BlaXit before, just to let you know, BlaXit is a channel which really covers the journey and experiences of our family here in the Gambia. BlaXit was all about our exit from the West to the best Africa, and that is what BlaXit means. BlaXit is all about you leaving Europe or America or wherever, and you returning back to Africa, repatriating back to Africa in line with all of the blueprints of Marcus Garvey, Kwame Nkrumah, and all of our lates and greats. So, and of course, I never forget my Kim Pavita, because, you know, she was one of the first heroes that we had here in Africa, in my opinion, with regards to beating and fighting against slavery. So, in that, with that being said, you know, we are the children of those ancestors who were separated from Africa during slavery, and we are those that are now completing the circle and coming home. So in a nutshell, BlaXit is all about that and more, helping you with your repatriation, finding that all-important piece of land, finding a home to stay in, and also, you know, building your fence, your house, your wall, helping you to also invest in the local community to develop schools, health centres, etc., etc. Find your business, set yourself up. So I want to dive straight in because rumor has it that there's a new book out. So we kind of had another great book which we featured on the channel before when I first interviewed you when you were here in the Gambia, the beautiful smiling coast of the Gambia. So, Colin, tell us what's been happening to you. Obviously, you look as though you're in Gambia, but we know you're really not in Gambia. So, tell us about your previous book and the success that you've been having with it, because I've been seeing your webinars. And tell us about this new book, because it's all about the Gambia.
You've let out the secret, Julia. I'm not in the Gambia. I was hoping to trick our BlaXit subscribers to make a think I'm back in the Gambia. They'll think that I'm right there with you in Bigelow or Domino's Beach.
But the trees aren't moving.
Thanks. It's great to be back on Blagzit again. Thanks for the introduction. So much has gone on since I last saw you. I mean, it was literally since I spoke over a year now. It's like the end of December 2019 that I left to come back to England, and there's a lot that's been happening with me during that time. And I just want to again reiterate to the BlaGzit subscribers, like you mentioned, if for those who are not unfamiliar with you, yes, I was one of the first members of the BlaGzit family. That if you look at the early BlaGzit videos, you'll see a lot of the footage that I did from September up until the end of December 2019 when I came back to England, and some of the things that we encompassed and we did. She mentioned earlier, I'm author of the book The Rise of Rastafari Resistance, Redemption and Repatriation. There's also a video on your channel where I went into school and I educated people on Rastafari, and I did my lecture on that. Very, very important. There's various other videos that we did. I mean, there's too many to name. That when we went to Makasutu Cultural Forest, when we went to show people some plots of land, when we went on to the supermarket. I remember that we went to the supermarket, the medical center. It's bringing back all the memories now. The Blagzit link ups. I can't forget the Blagzit link ups. Hey, the Blagzit messengers. If you're the people that sent in the Blagzit messengers, I'm the one who edited them and put them up and uploaded them. So it was great times and meeting people, the so-called the movers and shakers in the Gambia during the time it was actually doing that. So I've got a lot of fond memories of my time working with you on BlaXit. I've got a new book highlighting my experience in life in the Gambia, and a lot of it is in line with BlaXit anyway. There's a chapter in the book, chapter 10, which concentrates on my time in depth in working with BlaXit. But when I say in line, because a lot of it is about, again, counteracting the negative stereotypes of negativity portrayal that people have of Gambia or Africa in general. Yeah, and when you read my book, it gives it. I don't romanticize Africa. I give a real, true reflection of my time in Gambia. It covers my personal experiences. It also covers advice, and it also gives information as well. So there's things in my book, for example, where I looked at whilst I was in Gambia. Business opportunities, and there's parts where I mention the different business opportunities that may be viable in the Gambia. I give advice, for example, like say just common things like when I went to the market, for example, I always took a Gambian with me so they could barter a better price. Just little things like that. And other kind of advices. If you're moving to Gambia the first time, because this is like a book that can give you those little advice of what to expect when you get into Gambia. So it does act as a guide as well in many ways, what to expect in Gambia, and what kind of things may occur. So it's giving you that first-hand knowledge as well. So from someone's experience, or someone of African Caribbean heritage from the diaspora, going back onto the continent for the first time. I mean, the first time I went to Gambia was in 2018 December. My friend Justin Muhammad took me there, and then I went back in 2019. Both times I only went for a week, but when I was in July 2019 till December, the end of December 2019, those 6 months, that was my longest stint that I spent in Gambia. And a lot of the book is concentrated on that period, and obviously the culture and the society as well, and how I really fitted in, and some comparisons between life in the Gambia and obviously life in England, what I'm used to, and how I found things as someone from the diaspora. So there's a lot of content in that book. It's took me a year to write it, just over a year. I've just literally finished it 2 weeks ago. I had my book launch on Sunday. At the Black Books webinar, which is a platform that I've got, the Black Books webinar, where I invite different authors to come on and talk about it. I'll talk about their books. And Julia mentioned earlier Gambia. Gambia is named the Smiling Coast. And the reason why I've called this book Life in Gambia, the Smiling Coast of Africa, because it was about my life. It's about living in Gambia and the Smiling Coast of Africa. The reason why Gambia is named that is because the hospitality and the friendliness and the kindliness of the people, how they are to people from all different backgrounds. And that was one of the themes in my book, that what I felt by the Gambian local people, how I was welcomed, how I was received, and how I was treated. And I make reference to examples in the book. So, for example, what I remember one time, it was in rainy season. It was difficult to get from one side of the road to the other side of the road. And the taxi driver, I got out of his taxi. I'm a big guy. If you haven't seen me in person, I'm 6'3" and I'm quite broad. So he actually offered to carry me through the rain, through the water to my flat. Yeah. I didn't let him do it because I thought we'd fall over in the puddle. But that's just a kind of example of the kind of hospitality that you get in the Gambia. You can go around places in Gambia and people invite you and ask you to share food with them. So they will offer you, they all have a big bowl and they eat from the bowl. You can either eat from a spoon, or if you've got clean hands, you eat from your hands. And people would just invite you to eat with them. Where I lived in Bigelow, we was very much like a community with us, the people in the hair salon, the people in the car park. Big shout out to people like Aladdin, if you're listening, my friend Aladdin, and the guys in the car park, Awa from the hair salon. But the way how I felt that even though I was born in England and I lived in my whole life in England, I gelled better and I felt more at home in Gambia than I was in England. And it's a bit of a shame that to be brought up in and and this is where we go into something about like the institutional racism and living in a toxic environment in England, where really black people, people of African Caribbean heritage, treated like second-class citizens. And something I said in this book is that when I was in Gambia, I wasn't necessarily black or brown. I was a human being, and that's how I felt when I was in Gambia. By the way that the people see me and treated me and just accepted me, and it was refreshing to be in somewhere where you're valued. In you mentioned earlier, Julia, I was a bestseller before I came to Gambia, which is true. I was bestseller in the country, yeah. But regardless whether you're when you've got black or brown skin in the United States or in the diaspora, the bar is always a certain level. So no matter how good you excel or achieve, you always have to work twice, three times as hard. Going to Gambia, I really felt that the people that valued me in society, and I just like the way that things were just done in this community rather than individualistic culture, doggy dog culture, which you see in the West. That everything is done is like community orientated. People share together, and even down to that the family structure. That's something I noticed as well. Very strong family structures in Gambia, for example, and the relationship particularly that I noticed was a relationship between male and female and how strong it was, whether that is husband and wife partners, whether it is a man and a daughter, whether that is brothers and sisters. It's really strong. The family structure is really very much intact, and I think when you have a strong family structure, that is a basis of a foundation of a community society, because you start with your family first and then you branch out. So that's another aspect of Gambian life, which I speak about in my book. And I did so many things. I mean, I went to villages to meet with everyday local people. I went to see people's compounds. I saw the difference. I saw people that were filthy, rich, wealthy, live in massive houses that I've never seen in England. I know people that didn't have that. Literally, they just had a room, a few possessions, and a mattress. So there is obviously a gap between a rich and poor, but you get that everywhere you go in the world. There's rich people and there's poor people. That's the reality. People weren't starving in the streets. So when I was in Gambia, I didn't see people starving in the streets or fly in some people's mouths or eyes like the BBC, ITV, that Western media propaganda. Or people with walking sticks or those kind of things there. So generally, people look healthy. And in terms of like the country, for example, it's a beautiful country. If you look at, say, obviously this is a picture in the background, but this is like could be a beach in Gambia, and there's lovely beaches. And it was really it's the people that I think really made my experience how warm and friendly. And I dedicate this book to the people of the Gambia for making my experiences lovely, and meeting so many different people from different walks of life along the way. And in Gambia, and it's I said when I say you have the difference in the rich and poor, even say the people that are not well off financially, because there are poor people in Gambia just like everywhere else in the world. But I think the richness is in the people and the society and how things are in the culture and in the way that the people conduct themselves. There's a richness that goes beyond money in those kind of things, and it's something that we, as people in the diaspora, obviously through our experience of slavery, colonialism, and being in England and integrating in society, we've lost a lot of our ways and African cultures and traditions. And just like my surname, we need to Sankofa and go back and fetch, and looking to start tapping into Africa and connecting with our brothers and sisters in the continent, integrating, because that's a big aspect as well. Because sometimes people go to Africa or Gambia and they just want to go on a business flex, and it's just about business, but don't really want to integrate with the locals, or you want to set up just a diasporan community and you don't want to mingle with the everyday people. But integration is key. Like just like for example, the thing you're doing in bushland immigration, you got, and from the inception of when I came down here, I was integrating with local long before I even linked up in September. Before I linked up with you in BlaXit, I was on every day. Most of my people that I dealt with were Gambians, and I think it's important that for us to share each other's experiences so that they know where we're coming from as people from the diaspora, and we know where they're coming from as Africans on the continent. Because yes, even though we are in the UK and America and we've read the books and we've got the knowledge on this, we've got this, that, and the other, it's still a different thing when you come actually onto the continent and have that experience itself. So there's nothing like the experience. There's certain things that you will learn by being on the continent, regardless of how much you study, whatever, that you just won't experience or know being in the diaspora. And that's what we're getting from them. It's an exchange where we're getting stuff from them, but we're also giving them knowledge and from our experience as well, working together. So there's certain things that we will know by being in the diaspora that they might not necessarily know or have information. And particularly, one of the things I like was sharing that when I went into schools and I talked about Rastafari, and not just about Rastafari, but Black history in general, because I always say Rastafari is a story of the Jamaican people. It's a story of people of Caribbean heritage. Yeah, it is unfortunately it's been infiltrated and it has been watered down along the way. But the core grass, the root of Rastafari is Pan-African repatriation to Africa is the ultimate goal for us. And when I went to the schools, and what I encompassed as well was it just covers that whole journey of us since we left the shores of Gambia and we're taking, particularly us from Caribbean background, what happened obviously in the Caribbean, then coming to England, and also the Windrush experience, and then the day-to-day reality. So people will know, for example, that when we are in England, America, no, the streets are not paved with gold. There are obstacles and there's things and the challenges that we do have in place here in England as well. I think there's a lot of things that I experienced in Gambia that I can also compare to England, like even health-wise, well-being. Now, I know you've spoken about this on previous shows. I'm speaking to you personally. You said that how much Gambia helped your well-being.
Yeah.
Mine too. I mean, I'm someone who suffered from mental health, anxiety, and OCD. OCD. When I was in Gambia, I didn't have those experiences. I didn't have that, and because I think the part is because you're in an environment where you're valued, you're in a more relaxed environment, and an environment where effectively also you be yourself within your own culture. So when you're going around, you see people of African heritage everywhere. You see them on the billboards, on the posters, and when you're into like professional environments that we went into when we spoke to certain people, you're still again you're speaking to people with your own culture. It's not like you've got to go to then you've got to be one person one day, and then when you go into your office, you've got to transition and be someone else. So the fact is that you can constantly maintain and be yourself, and you don't have to kind of suck up to anyone, or you don't have to change who you are to try and fit into that kind of environment. So and being in an environment where you
You, right?
yeah. Say it again.
So you can be you.
Yes, it could be you, and yes, it's refreshing when to see, I said, black people in positions of power. This is very important because one thing we need to strive for is power, and in the diaspora, particularly, well, in the world we don't have much power, but particularly in the diaspora, when you look in, I look at England and I look at all the like say whether you have your military, your government, your education systems, your schooling, big multi-million billion businesses, they're all externally owned. So you can't live in a society and environment where you're a second-class citizen and you're a minority like that. And see, the thing is, at least when you see white people in South Africa or some Asian people in other countries like parts of Africa, they might be a minority, but they've got power as a minority. That's a big, completely different. But when you're a minority and your people are not in power, you're not in positions of power, that's basically you're basically powerless people. So
Wait. I'm gonna have to interject here, right? I would like to know where, let's say that Europeans go, yeah, in which they don't seek to control, colonize, destroy, take power, and exploit resources. That is their MO. So for us to go into the country of the people that have been proven, they have previous of doing this, it's going to be different. And I think that, it's like everything else. When the odds are stacked against you, you have to find a different strategy.
yeah, I think, like you said, anywhere the Europeans have gone, they've colonized it. They've killed off the indigenous people. They've taken over the government control, etc. I just wanted to be clear as well. When I'm talking about necessarily power, I'm not talking about us going to Africa and then trying to boss over the native people. I'm not talking about us going and trying to colonize. What I'm talking about is seeing people of your own skin color in positions of power, like say the president, Adam Barrow, and that must be so much inspirational for your son Catherine, yeah, for him to see a black president in a black country, what that does for his self-esteem, yeah, and for to see black people in positions of power. This is the kind of empowerment that I'm talking about, yeah, and seeing people of African Caribbean heritage in these kind of positions, yeah, is with empowering. If you are the president of a country, you're empowering. That's just saying to your son or whoever, you have children in the Gambia, whatever, they can be president, they can aspire to that, they can be managing director of these kind of businesses, they can get this and this, they can get that. In England, there's a bar set. There's definitely a bar set which is saying that no matter how well you're good, you're still not. They're not going to let you be boss of this corporate company. So that's the kind of empowerment that I mean. That where I go around and I see, you know, what the head of police is a black person. Where I see the head lawyer that I go to is a black person. The person who owns the businesses here, who owns the land, is a black person. That's the kind of empowerment that we need to be around black people in those kinds of positions of power.
Good. I want to ask you a few questions now about the book. And I'm so glad you said that, because one of the reasons why we came to the Gambia in the first place is because we needed a different narrative. We needed a paradigm shift in our, our reality, our day-to-day reality. And when we first came here on holiday, that was like, it was such a major shift that I said, I can't live in England anymore. That's it. It's so over for me. And so, I understand exactly what you mean. But one of the reasons, especially in bringing my son here, is that he went through terrible racism in the UK. Both my sons did, actually. And, it was something that was quite well known, and also was covered in the national news, and, it became a worldwide story. And so what happened to my son, and I realized something is that, that would never be investigated properly. That would never, ever have come to light. And there will be no perpetrators caught. Because while you're there, you're in a system where you can't succeed, really. And yes, you'll have, maybe qualifications, maybe you have one house or what have you. But here, when I see success here looks far different to what it does in the UK. And so I'd like you to talk to that for a bit. How did success look here to you in comparison to our plight in Europe or England or America, for example?
It's just having enough money to get by. It's not necessarily having a big mansion or palace, but it's, community for me is very, very important. Even when I was in England, I was very much community orientated. I was involved in organizations, doing a lot of work to empower our people. So it's definitely successes, being a valued person to the community, and also giving back as well, and doing things, and not necessarily being rich or millionaire, billionaire, but having enough to get by and live comfortably. But I'm happy to be, as I see success is me being a member of the community that's contributing, whether that's educating people, whether it's financing in any way that I can use my skills to contribute to, and being a valued part of that society, and fitting in, and being embedded in the society, in the fabric of the country. To be honest, as long as I've got enough money to provide for myself, if I've got family, it'll be my family, my wife, and get me that looks like success to me. I'm very easygoing. I'm not one of these people that say that success looks like I've got to be the chief executive of this business, or I've got to have this, that, and that, for example, or attain materialistic things. I'm very unmaterialistic. So for me, success would just be like settling down, probably having a family, being in like a nice country like Gambia, you've got a beach in the background and stuff like that, and just living a nice community orientated life.
Thank you. My concept of success is happiness. If I'm happy, for me, that's it. I'm successful. If I can make people around me also happy, then that's also my definition of success. And I think that's what's like most important is being able to have being a part of the betterment of your environment and the betterment of the lives of other people. That's what really makes me feel successful and happy, is knowing that I can, help others to also come and have a happy life where they can chill and relax and not feel so stressed. And yeah, and I agree with you. It's a stress-free environment. But I want to know what motivated you and inspired you to actually, put pen to paper and write this book.
Life in Gambia. The inspiration behind it was I did a lot during my time in Gambia. It wasn't just like I went there as a tourist, a holiday, and spent time by the beach and um, yeah, and stayed away from the locals. Or it wasn't like it was like ordinary kind of 6 months. I mean, I think I did a lot in 6 months. That some things that happen in once in a lifetime kind of stuff. So when the stuff that I talk about in the book, like the things that we did at BlaXit, the impact that that had in now there's people that are living in Gambia that are moving to Gambia that before seeing one of our videos that we put out would never have even dreamt or even thought about coming to the Gambia. That is impact. Yeah. Some of them wouldn't even knew where Gambia was on the map. Yeah. So this is the kind of impact. This is that we had through Blagzit YouTube channel. When I was in Gambia, I met people that said that we don't wear hair at this hotel, well hair just because we saw your videos. Yeah. So this is the kind of impact. I mean, even like for example, the young student Osman Toure, for example, it was through Blagzit. Osman Toure has gone worldwide now because it was the Pan African Youth Conference. I remember we met Osman Toure, and I wanted to go to that event at the African Leadership Awards, and I said, well, let's go to the event. So we went to the event, and through that event, Osman, he met us. We filmed him, and that video clip that I uploaded, that you interviewed with him, has gone viral now. And Osman Toure has gone on to do, he's doing great things. Pan African Youth Ambassador. I've seen him with Dr. Lumumba. Julius Malema commented on that video. Shout out Osman if you're listening. I was in contact with him the other day. So it's that kind of inspiration that's inspired things, and it's had an impact worldwide, not just on my life, not just on your life, but it's had a global impact. There's people that are living, some of them that are living their best lives in Gambia, better than they would have been living it previously and in the West. So that would never have thought that that's not even an option. So that's just some of the things with Blagzit. Yeah, other things that was important that to raise at the time. Now, Thomas Cook went bust during. Thomas Cook is a travel agent, yeah, that goes to the Gambia, yeah, and he's been going there for decades, yeah. Now, Thomas Cook went out of business, so that's another important thing on tourism. Gambia is a country, one of the main industries in tourism, but that's something that happens again once every in life. It's not every day a big main tourist company that takes a lot of British people goes out of business. But how did that impact the country? That talking about that kind of stuff. That you had the citizenship campaign, which I mentioned about in my book as well. This is like once in a lifetime things that happen. I mean, had that been passed through, as you know, Gambia would have been the first place to offer automatic citizenship for descendants of Africans that are coming in, not residency, but I mean automatic citizenship, and go into that kind of thing and that kind of process and everything. So these are kind of things that were significant. Also, covering my personal experience, because there's a lot of personal things that happen in this book, and that had to get covered as well. So it's got the information, it's got the impact to other people. It's also got a personal account of what is it like for someone hands-on of the diaspora and African Caribbean heritage going to Africa for the first time. And when it's very real, because when I go into, I said, the relationships that I had with the Gambian people, whether it's friendships, intimate relationships, all of those kind of stuff that I had.
I'm gonna go there. I'm gonna go there in a minute. I'm gonna go there in a minute. Yeah.
But when I highlight, for example, Gambia, there's so many different things that made my trip stand out. I went to a wedding ceremony, yeah, a traditional African Gambian wedding ceremony. I went to several naming ceremonies. I went to different villages, yeah, which are far away in the rural areas. And when I went into villages, yeah, I experienced different things in those villages. So I went to see football matches. I got to mingle with the people every day in the market. I got really a full sense of Gambia. So because I experienced so much, a vast amount in my time in Gambia, I thought it's better to put pen to paper and record it, because we need to keep accounts of stuff. Because if we don't keep accounts of it, other people are always going to be telling our stories. So this is a book that I can look at, and it's good for me for my personal experience, but it's also then for other people can read a book, and it's account not just of my story, but in a story of history, our history. And I'm hoping that this book can inspire other people and inspire other people. It doesn't necessarily have to be me to move into the Gambia. It could be whether to just go there on holiday, or it could be to go to Africa or repatriate. But it's a book that that gives more people more knowledge of the smiling coast of Africa.
You were talking about relationships, and I'm going to go there. I'm going to touch on relationships because I'm seeing many marriages here happening in the Gambia, especially with many of our African brothers and sisters and African descendants making that wonderful union. I'm seeing people get together on a wholesale basis, and I'm loving it. Don't get me wrong, because this is the reunion that is needed in order to bring us back home and integrate us back into society. And there's no other way to integrate. When your partner is there, you're learning the language quicker. I remember watching Zandela, watching her channel, and I've met her and I've met her Gambian husband. And I've met many others and their Gambian partners. And it's, really lovely to see the union come together. And I know sometimes there are cultural differences, religious differences, but they've been able to overcome those and found love and a life together. So I want to know, what was it like for you? I know that while you was here, you were very popular.
Go there, Julia.
So I was, how would you say, how is finding love in the Gambia and those kinds of relationships? And was cultural differences an issue for you, or religion an obstacle for you?
Not really, to be honest. I think, as in, the people are just generally kind, accepting people. I mean, during my time, I do highlight this in my book, for example, some of my relationships in the book, and I didn't think that there was really culture differences. I think I slotted in straight, like, so well with just the general fabric of Gambia and the people in Gambia, to be honest. So um, whether it was friends or indeed relationships with women I had, that I don't really feel that there was so much of a cult. As I said, I thought that this culture in Gambia was more natural to me than living in the Western world culture. What I liked is that there was, I think, a more of a respect between males and females. Like, it's not like you see males and females bad mouthing each other, because the family structure is there and strong. And I think there's like roles and family is more intact. It is a patriarchal system and patriarchal structure in Gambia. There's no doubt it. But that's not to say that the women are not respected. I mean, I think we need to understand, obviously roles are different because of our experience in the Western world. There's a breakdown in the roles, and our family structures are broken down, but things are more intact and in place in the Gambia. And I think the culture that they've got is what helps to bind those relationships together. However, there is obviously sometimes religion differences, because obviously it's Islamic country, a Muslim country. Sometimes the woman may try and get the male to convert, but I think that's on an individual basis. It is common to see men with multiple wives, with 2, 3 wives, because polygamy is common in Gambia. That's also something as well.
Yeah, but your book sounds really interesting, and what I've read, it's really riveting. It's well written. I'm really impressed. I think that you'll get a lot of sales about this book, and I think right now we're on the cusp of a mass exodus worldwide across Africa. So it's timely too. A lot of people are leaving. A lot of people are really fed up with the West, especially during the latest pandemic. A lot of people, got fed up of being totally controlled. And so, like I said, hey, you feel free when you're in your compound, you're cool. And so, yeah, tell us more about how we can get to order a copy of the book. How much is the book, and where can we get it?
where you can get my book, again, my book, Life in Gambia, The Smiling Coast of Africa by MaK and Sankofa. It's available on Amazon globally. So Amazon, you can get a copy, and it's available in paperback and also in Kindle ebook form. And that's going to be the best place for you to get a copy. And while you're there, also get a copy of my book, The Rise of Rastafari: Resistance, Redemption, Repatriation. It's been a bestseller. It's got, I last checked, it's had 65 reviews on Amazon, and it's doing very, very well. And that was again important about my trip to Gambia as well, to educate people on Rastafari. And I mentioned that in my book as well. And that was something, because I educate people globally about Rastafari. In Gambia, there's a lot of people that have got locks on their hair, but they don't fully understand the principles and philosophies of it because they haven't been educated enough about it. So to do that is to give that education of it. Very, very, very important. And I just want to actually shout out your uncle Russ Elway. He's actually while I'm actually doing this as well, because I remember I didn't know that he was your uncle until we came to Gambia. And he came to my book launch, because I know him. He came out at events in Luton, and yeah, Russ L is an elder I've got a lot of respect for, and I just wanted to shout him out because I remember having a conversation with him at an event, and he was encouraging me to go to Africa. And I know your dad's a Rasta, and he's encouraged you. And I mean, I'm a Rasta, so that's part of my journey, why I'm in Africa, why I'm inspired to go to Africa. But Russ L, particularly, what he said to me, and we had a conversation, he was like, well, what do we tell the young people if we're only seeing like white youth going to Africa? What about, use of African Caribbean heritage? And it's true, if they only seen other people of other ethnicities going there, they're gonna think that we don't care about them. And we love them. We love Africa. We love African people. We love African women. We we are African. We are Pan African, regardless of whether it's Ethiopia to Gambia to Tunisia. Anyway, so it's all about the upliftment of people of African Caribbean heritage.
Okay, so I got two really short, quick questions before we close. The first one is, as you know, there's a Rastafarian that is running for president. What do you think his prospects are of winning?
I don't necessarily think he's win. I'm not sure if they're ready to accept a Rastafarian as president of the Gambia. I don't think they know enough about it. I think, again, if more people picked up my book or they listened to the lectures that I did on BlaXit, which is up there, they would have more education on it. Gambia is still into the kind of mindset of they don't really take Rasta because they just see it as people in locks who smoke ganja and listen to reggae and this, which is not necessarily true. They're still into them, don't fully understand it, so I don't think they're quite ready for it for yet in that perspective. But I mean, I don't really know what his views is, because I said before that in Gambia there's a lot of people that claim Rasta that are Muslims, or I don't know fully, for example, what his philosophies or his principles are. So I don't know whether I would say he claims Rasta. I'm not going to question him, but I'm not one to say that whether like, for example, I don't know how deep into it he is or whatever, or whether he's just a Muslim in lots, to be honest.
Yeah, I hear you, and I understand that. And so I'll just come to the last question. Now, we've been having some movements so far as the automatic citizenship campaign is. We recently had a meeting. We were called to the State House, and I was so surprised to arrive there to see a room full of MPs who were supporting our automatic citizenship campaign. And I've also seen people make, different types of comments. How do you feel? Do you feel that we should, when we come home, do you feel that we should have to jump through all of these hoops to be accepted? Or do you feel that due to our heritage, who we are and the journey and what our ancestors have been through, because of course they were taken by force, there was no passports at the time when they were taken. In fact, there was no National Assembly either. Do you think that we should be welcomed back into the villages automatically, where we can be integrated and assimilated back into communities? Or do you think that it should be a laborious process of ticking more and more boxes before we're accepted?
I think that we should definitely, based on historically what's happened to us, there's no way that it should take in Gambia 15 years or 7 years if you're married to a Gambian before you can acquire citizenship in the country. Now, however, I do understand that there may need to be some kind of checks before you're letting everyone into your country, yeah? But based on our heritage, we shouldn't be treated in the same way that, say, Asian people or white people are treated. Certainly, there could be a process in place where, even if it's I think it was you or someone else said it, where a place where it's maybe 2 years. In the meantime, yeah, you're getting your temporary residency before you're always going to be in the process to get it, but it's just you've got to settle in the country first rather than just come and go. Like you're in Gambia 1 minute and then you're in England, and that's what I'm trying to say. So you're in the country at least for 2 years full before, rather than you're in Gambia for like, say, 6 weeks or 2-3 months, but you're living in England, but you're actually fully a citizen of Gambia. So I'm for being a citizen when you're actually living in there, encompassed in it. That's why I say living in there for a year or 2 years, rather than giving them the citizenship and then someone's just living in England for all the time.
Have you watched our program about automatic citizenship? Have you watched it?
So the 3 steps, I'm just going to unpack them quickly. Step 1, when a repatriate of African descent arrives at the airport, and they have made it clear to the immigration officer at the airport that they are coming as a repatriate and they wish to return. When, of course, questioned and asked what is the purpose of your visit, you'll say, I'm here to live, I've come back to the motherland, I'm a repatriate, I come back. When you say that, they will then be giving you a certificate of citizenship, which is a stamp. Very cheap, very affordable, no problems, no quips, no ifs, no buts, stamp. Very basic rubber stamp that I will gladly donate to the airports, stamping their passport with a lovely warm welcome that says welcome home. So this will enable people from the diaspora, people from outside of the continent who are coming back of African descent, to be exempt from clause 260 and 261, which relates to property in the new modern constitution, and that's contained in the draft constitution, and also the exceptional clause of the constitution, which was stated in 188 of the report that I just mentioned to you. So that is why it's very important, because it also will relate to an expedited naturalization. So what do I mean by that? And that is in pursuant of section 6.1 and 21.1 of the Constitutional Review Commission Act 2027. Now, this certificate is a 2-part process, and a partial citizenship will give added security measures for all. Repatriates will also be governed by the laws of the country and also will be subject to the constitution, which is good all the way round for all of us. So step 2, when you're applying for your residency, your work and your business permits, we're appealing for the replacement of the alien card, which is obviously hostile to us, with a certificate of citizenship. It's that simple. So let's take away the non-Gambian, whatever. Let's just call it a certificate of citizenship. And no, it's not full citizenship, it's partial citizenship. Let me carry on. And the reason why is because obviously words matter and rejection hurts. So as a part of this process, there'll be a cultural and societal integration program. So this is where we come into partnership with what's been written in the commission, and we agree there should be an integration process. Another part of the process is the adoption of African descendants into host families, where there is a mutually beneficial arrangement where values, morals, mores and cultural society norms such as respect are embraced and learned. Also, skills are swapped and support is given to the host family, making it a mutually beneficial experience. Language courses will be engaged in by African descendants in order to have a good grasp of communication at a local level, thereby enabling a smoother transition into the country. So I'm reading because I'm going to be putting it on the screen as well, because I want to share this document with you, because obviously I want your feedback on this. So step 3 is that after 2 years of continuous residence here, and you've completed the language course, and of course you've integrated with a family, an application can be made for full citizenship. So this can be processed within 6 months, which will be a great time period we're suggesting, and a voluntary donation can be given to a development fund to assist the continued support for the host nation. And we say it's voluntary because I would hope that you would want to give something to help in the development of the nation that you are living in.
If you look at the model for Israel, and you look at the model for Pakistan or any other country, yeah, you're given partial citizenship upon entry. You're not given full citizenship. That's why it's called automatic, because you automatically are given partial citizenship. And so that's the same model that we've taken. So you don't get full citizenship until after you've been living in the country for 2 years.
This is what I'm talking to you about. Exactly. Like you get like a say a residency or whatever until.
So yeah, so what I'm trying to say is it's automatic. So when will we be seeing you back here in the Smiling Coast?
Well, I'm not too sure because there's 2 reasons for this. I was planning to go to Zambia. I've got a friend in Zambia, Justin, who's doing development work there. So I do want to explore some more African countries as well. However, obviously the COVID pandemic has put things back, but because I've been able to have my Black Books webinar platform and do other things, I've kept active and I've been able to save up a bit. So when I go on the continent, that it will be permanent or at least for a longer stint of time. Now, I have considered possibly going to Gambia before going to Zambia, but I don't know whether that's going to happen or not. One of my friends I was speaking to about this last week, a couple of weeks, he wants to buy some a holiday home in Gambia, so I may go to Gambia with him. Also, I would like to possibly come to Gambia and see a lot of my still friends and people that I know in the Gambia. I know I'm missing them and they're missing me, so I definitely want to get back into Gambia and also spend time with the Bla Xit family.
Well, yeah, we miss you. So hopefully we'll see you soon. I have to go now. Yeah. But that was an amazing interview. I want to thank you for your time. You know, thank you for your insight. Great conversation, great interview, and great insight into Gambia through your eyes. So thank you so much. And Bla Xit family, please remember to smash that like button. Please subscribe. Keep watching. Please keep watching. And also, if you'd like to support our channel, you can do using PayPal at botcollective@yahoo.com, or you can become one of our Patreon supporters at BLA_XIT. So that was the great author and world traveler, McConan Sankofa.